Hello, everybody. Welcome. We'll get started in just a few minutes here. Tyler, how are you doing? It's good to have you back with us.
It's great to be back. I'm doing well.
This little recording signal off the screen. There we go. All right, it looks like we have a good group of people with us. We'll go ahead and jump right in. This is How to Create Custom Stickers with Tyler Pate. My name is Shireen Faridnia, and I'll be the host today. This will be about a 1 to 2 hour session, and we ask that you please use the Q&A feature, not the chat or the hand raising for questions. And due to time constraints, only some of the questions may be answered in the Q&A, but I'll do my best to get to all of them. Also, this Zoom session will be recorded and a YouTube link will be forwarded to everybody that attends. We also have an exclusive e-store offer, 10% off Wacom Cintiq 16 or 22 with Tyler's code PATE. And that is all for me. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Tyler.
Perfect. Go ahead and screen share. Hello, hello. Well, I hope everyone's doing great. I'm excited to really dive into this how to prep your stickers for any sort of material. I'm going to walk through some processes that I typically go through with prepping this artwork, whether that's in Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop. Whichever program really depends on where you created the artwork to begin with. I work, hand in hand with both of those programs. So sometimes my final piece is finished in Photoshop, so everything's sort of in a layer, RBG file. So I like to walk you through the first one, which I think the best way to do that is to go ahead and dive into Illustrator. And like I said, this is a piece I did a few years ago for Mark. If you don't know this guy, he's hilarious. He does like a bunch of live streams with music, and he'll create songs in front of you live. So what I did was, for this piece, we have this. Hang on, let me zoom in. This is the actual sticker file I would send to the printer. So what we have is we have my artwork, and then we have my cut line. And you'll notice the cut line is what I'm referring to as this pink line right here. That's this. So if you have a custom sticker made, that means it's going to be cut just along the lines of the artwork there. So one of the easiest ways to get that cut line, and going to be really tricky at first, but if it's in a vector file like this, I'll go ahead and delete this old cut line, and then we'll do it from scratch so I can walk you through how to do that. So this is all vector, like you see here. And then I had some type that I added. And something too to note, whenever you're making custom stickers, it's helpful to maybe throw a handle or some sort of tag along the edge, because again, whenever you're throwing these stickers around town, it's always helpful to maybe throw in your information so people can see who created the sticker. So I did that here, and then there's the little mark name right there. So I'm going to outline this, because one thing to note, whenever you're sending this file to printers, you want to make sure that all text is outlined, because if the printer doesn't have that font, it's going to be a missing font and it's going to give you a lot of trouble. So go ahead and outline everything in there. And you can see right here I have this solid shape around my artwork, and that's going to really help me with my cut line. So if I was to just copy this, paste it into place, and we're going to kind of bring it up to a separate layer, because you always want to have 2 layers in an Illustrator file for when prepping for these stickers. You're going to have that cut line on one layer above your artwork and everything else underneath. We're just going to change the fill to nothing. And then we're going to change the stroke. This is the most important piece to this, is you want 100% magenta. And then we're going to put that down to 1 point.
Tyler, we already have some questions coming in if you wouldn't mind answering.
Yeah.
Jason's asking, does it matter what size dimension you start off with for your sticker illustration? I know a lot of sticker printers have different format sizes.
It typically, for what I would do, let's say if I'm in Illustrator, just like this scenario, I have my artwork set as, let's look at this artboard. This is set at, roughly 5 by 5, roughly. It's like 4.5 by 5 inches. No, I wouldn't get the sticker printed at that dimension, but since this is vector, it scales pretty easily. But what I will do whenever I'm sending it to the printer, I need to make sure that, hey, I want this sticker at, let's say, 3 inches by 4. Let's say if that's what this was. You want to make sure it can print. So if you're printing this in Cmyk, which that's what I'm doing with this is all in Cmyk. So there's really no Pantones or any color bleeds to worry about. It's just like a regular printer printing it. Just make sure that you tell the printer what size you want it, because sometimes there's slight adjustments for their machines to print this. So just indicate to the printer. That's what I would say. But also it helps to print this out maybe on a home printer just to see the size, because there's lots of times where I'm not quite sure what that looks like if I print it out. So this is a great example. I have a whole bunch of stickers I'm going to show you guys. So this circular sticker here, it's primarily text related. So it's really helpful to print this out on a home printer first, just to see how large this text looks. Because if it's too small and you send it to print and then you get the sticker back and you can't read it, I mean, you're going to get stuck with that design. So it's helpful to print it first, maybe on a home printer, just to get sizing and everything just exactly the way you want it, and then ship it to printer. So this is what the cut line would be. Again, make sure it's 100% magenta. I usually do a 1 point stroke around the whole piece. And then it's also helpful, you'll notice I have a slight bleed. So you see this tan color, it actually goes past that pink line. That's going to be known as my bleed. So it's helpful if you have any sort of design that has a full bleed that's going to go outside the design, such as, let me pull some examples here. So here's a fun sticker I did. So you'll see that the actual colors sort of go all the way to the edge. So that's because I put a bleed on that. And you'll see here, it helps to make sure your design has that. So I would, save this file just like this. It's that simple if you're working in vector. I had an outline of the whole shape. Some people struggle with how do you find that outline. So you can see this magenta line is pretty consistently padded around this whole design. So how did I get that shape? I could do that real quick.
Tyler, while you're doing that, we have a couple more questions about the magenta line. Steve wants to know, why was the cut line 100% magenta? And Ernesto is also asking, how does the printer know which line to cut on?
So 2 parts to that. First part is it's always 100% magenta because most printers can indicate that color as that's a cut. If your design was in 100% magenta, then you need to talk to your printer, because typically you don't have that magenta color all the way through your design as a solid 100%. So by having that color distinguished, the printer's, oh, that's a single line, that's where you want to cut it. And then secondly, by having that magenta line on its own layer, because I have two layers I'm working in. By having that cut line on its own layer, the printer's going to see that layer. I named it cut line, and they're going to know that everything underneath that cut line, which is artwork, is what's being printed. So they're never going to print that magenta line. It's only for the printer's use. So this is how I'm going to get that padded line all the way around my shape. So what did I do? I just copied everything that was there. I did Command C and then Command F, which it's going to paste it into place. With that shape still highlighted, I'm going to go up to Object, Expand Appearance, and that's going to make sure that all the strokes and any other shapes that's in there, it's going to get expanded. And I'm going to show you why, because once you do that, you're then going to go to your Pathfinder and you're going to go ahead and unite every shape in there. So now I have this solid shape, you see. And I'm going to put a stroke on that. And I'm just going to enlarge that, go to round corners. And you start to see how everything's getting padded around from the original shape. And as I'm increasing it, I'm actually defining a padded line. So with that shape still selected, I'm just increasing my width on the stroke of it. I'm going to do Command Send to Back. Now you see that there's a little bit of padding all the way around the shape. And it's good to have about a 0.75 measurement from the design. So you want that padding to be pretty consistent. Otherwise, your design might get cut off in print. Okay, so I put, about a 16-point stroke around it. And I'm going to go back up to Object. I still have that shape selected. I'm going to do Outline Stroke. And I'm going to unite it again. And I'm going to change that to, let's do a tan color for the background of this. Something like that.
A fellow Tyler says, one thing I'm a stickler about is rounding inside and outside corners, even just to 0.05 to 0.2 of an inch to prevent lifting corners and corner tearing. Do you do the same?
Sometimes. It just really depends on the design. I think most of my sticker designs are pretty simple. I'm either doing clear backing or I'm doing something that has a little more margin for error in case there is any, and the printer is typically very helpful for correcting any of that if it arises. Now I'm just sort of repeating how I got to where I was earlier. So Command J, and then we're going to create that magenta line. And then I'm going to make sure it's on its own layer. So you see how we have two layers? There's my magenta line again. And then there's my artwork. So that's typically how I get that padded, consistent look all the way around my shapes. So this is one example of doing it. Let's say if I was to have another artwork like this. This is the illustration I did a little while ago for MF Doom. Not for him, but a tribute to him. So look at my layers. I have one layer right now. That's my artwork. And it really helps to label your layers like this. So layer, artwork. I'm going to do another layer above that. We'll call that cut line. Yep. So with this, we're going to copy my artwork again. That's everything selected. That's Command C, then Command F, which is going to paste it into place. So it's in the exact same place as it was before. I'm going to push that to my cut line. Everything's still selected. And remember, I told you a little trick with, we're going to outline stroke. We're going to outline, expand appearance. And then we're going to unite. And this should give me one shape. Okay, there was a slight filter on there, so I'm going to undo real quick. Because what I want to do is create just a slight padding around my design. And it just helps to just merge everything like Okay.
Tyler, do you always work in CMYK when you're starting out with concepts, or do you work in RGB first?
Typically RGB. I like the slider a lot more. Like whenever I'm looking at my color slider up here to the right, I like an RGB slider a little bit more. But I do need to transfer my files to CMYK before I send to print, because you'll see a slight color, tone difference whenever you transfer to CMYK. So it's helpful to go ahead and do that before you send your file, because if the printer goes and does that on their own, let's say your colors are drastically off, and they're just going to print it, and then you're going to get stuck with it. All right, so I'm going to just go ahead and clean this up a little bit.
We have lots of great questions coming in. Alicia's asking, how would you make the background clear with an outline for a clear sticker?
Perfect. So let's think about that for this design we're working on. So if you look at my layers, just constantly looking at my layers is going to be key here, because I'm working in my cut line layer. So if I was to turn that layer off, you see my designs directly underneath that shape, right? So we need to make that padding that goes all the way around. So I put a stroke on this, and I'm just going to enlarge it a little bit like this. And like I said, that padding around your design, it really depends on how complex it is and the printer, because a lot of printers can get really close to your design when doing that cutout. It really depends on the printer. Typically for me, I'll just try to stay about 0.75 away from it. But with that stroke, I just added, this is where we're at. I'm going to go ahead and expand this. Now it's a solid shape. And now I'm going to switch that over to a stroke, and we're going to do the 100% magenta, making sure it's there, 1 point. And now we have that line that goes all the way around. And you could see that some of these have slight imperfections, and just go back over your cut line. Sometimes you might have to delete a couple points just to clean it up a bit. So the question was, how do you create clear stickers? So let's have an example. So this right here is a clear sticker. So if I was to peel this from its backing, you would then see that the border or the padding that's all the way around this design, it's going to be clear. So that's completely clear if you can see that. So how I did that was look at our design. So this MF Doom box, you see how I have that gap between my design and my cut line? That's going to be clear, because that cut line is indicating this is what we're cutting out. And then if you look at my artwork, which is down here, it stops right there. So all of this is going to be printed in color, and everything that's left in between this gap, there's nothing there. There's no object, there's no shape. So that's going to be a printer situation. So the printer is going to know that's going to be clear, because whenever I'm submitting this to the printer, I'm saying I want a clear back sticker, and I've already provided my cut line, and they just know what to do from there. And we could link below in the comments some of the resources that I use, some of the primary sticker companies that I think are really easy to work with, and I think are pretty fast too. So just like that, we have our cut line, which is here, and then we have our artwork down below, which this is something to notice too. Always check your layers, because just like I just showed you, there was something on my cut line layer. So it should just be the cut line, nothing else. And then nothing but artwork on that layer.
Ernesto's wondering, do you recommend using Simplify to reduce all the points in the outline?
Sometimes. I think this would be probably an easier one to do Simplify for. For instance, if we jump back to this guy, if I was to use Simplify to really simplify this border. It sometimes changes the shape so much. It's not really the cut line that I want. So just have to kind of eye it up. Some sticker providers, I would say Sticker Mule, you can download this little template. And by template, you're getting this. You're getting this. This is the template that they can give you. You can go to their website. And I think a lot of sticker manufacturers provide these, which is just sort of a step-by-step of how to prep your artwork. And sometimes it seems confusing, but I think what we're walking through is we're kind of going through some of this, such as, step 4, such as step 5, making sure you're outlining all of your fonts and stuff like that, and then also creating that cut line. So if I was to use Sticker Mule, they want you to submit all your artwork on this template. And if you look at your layers, you have your instructions, which is this. You have your cut line, which I've already applied, and then you have your artwork. So if I wanted to do this from scratch again, I could easily delete my cut line, and then I would insert my artwork, which is this. And then I need to, let's say if I didn't have the cut line, I'm gonna have to create one from scratch. So let's use, let's use this outline here. I think that should cover it. Just same as before, except they want you to put it on their designated cut line layer. So I'm going to copy this design so I can get that outline. Copy it into place. This is my outline again. I'm going to merge that so it's a solid shape, just like this. And I keep using the stroke. I think a stroke is just the easy way to just define a padded look to give you this margin. But let's say you wanted something a little more precise. I believe someone asked about precision on this. You could also do, with this selected, object, and then path, offset path, and then you can get this. It's going to give you an increment. So let's say we wanted that 0.125 padding all the way around the design. Click OK. And then that's going to be our cut line. We need to slide that up to the next layer. And like I mentioned, we need to make this a magenta. And you know how we talked about simplifying, like if we had this selected, we can go up to object, what is it, path, simplify. And then this will simplify the amount of points that are being used. And you see, this is a good example where it's not as consistent as I want. It almost gives like a warped effect. And I don't want that. I want something clean, a nice clean hard edge wherever I can get it. That's just one way of doing it. But it's always helpful to go back and look at your cut line and tweak it where you see fit. Because this is going to be the outline that's cut. So that it might be clear, it could be, something holographic like this one. That really depends on the material that you want to use. But formatting the sticker, no matter the material, it's always the same. You always need to cut a cut line, and you always need to have your layers defined and labeled.
So you wouldn't flatten the layers then when you're sending it off to the printer?
No, I wouldn't. I would make sure all of your artwork's on one layer, like this. And again, we're in Illustrator, so you don't really have to. It doesn't hurt if you want to keep your file size low. But I think the majority of the sticker companies that I've worked with, this is exactly what I'm sending. It's this. And there's some, complexities in there. You can flatten it. By all means, it doesn't hurt to flatten your artwork, but you can get away with it sometimes. Depends on the time you have. Just make sure you have your artwork and then you have your cut layer on top, cut line layer. And then I would lock everything and then save this file. And this is the actual AI file I would send to, for this situation, Sticker Mule.
Tyler, do you own your own printer for stickers?
I don't. I just, like I said, I only use it's an HP printer just to do test prints. Not for the sticker material, but just to help me with sizing, because sometimes it helps to see, what I'm working with and how it looks if I want to have it, at a scale of this compared to something that's this tall. It just helps to look at it. It's sometimes tricky, and it's a optical thing. Here's another example too. So this is my final artwork. And again, you see this has some text in it. Always make sure you outline your text. You always want to have your text outlined. So this design already has this outline going around. So let's say we want to keep this a solid bleed. So this sticker is going to have a bleed to it. I'll pull this. This one actually got made. So we actually made this guy. So notice how the purple goes all the way to the edge, right? So in my sticker file, I need to make sure there's a bleed. So let's select this background color, object, path, offset. We've done this before, but we're going to go inward. Do something like that. And that right there, it just went inward on the padding. And we got a new shape. And this is going to be our cut line. Just like that.
While Tyler's doing that, I also want to mention that we'll be giving away one mystery sticker pack to a lucky registrant, and we'll be announcing that at the end. So stay tuned till the end to find out if that's you.
Yeah, so some of these stickers will actually be in that sticker pack. So that should be pretty fun. So what's fun about this, we'll get back to these materials. This is a metallic holographic finish that you see. So for prepping a sticker file for this, there's really not much to it. If you use Sticker App, which is who printed these, you essentially would prep your file. So here's my file. My artwork is on this layer. Label it accordingly. My cut line is on the second layer, which is above it. And that's good to go. So what I need to do from here is save this file. When I'm sending it to the printer or uploading it to whatever program that can print it, you want to specify the type of material. So I would then specify, make sure you're reaching out to the printer and saying, hey, I want this to be a holographic material. I want this color and this color to be holographic. So that means if you look at this design, there's certain pieces within this design that shine differently, such as the white is chrome. So I'm having to talk to the printer and say, everything that is white, I want that to be see-through, so it's chrome. So that's just a communication between you and the printer. There's really nothing crazy you have to do, at least using Sticker App. Some printers might say you need to have certain colors, this Pantone color, and that's as simple as making sure that color is whatever color that needs to be. It's just an indicator to the printer.
Jennifer wants to know if using vector is the best way to make stickers, or will non-vector work as well?
I prefer vector. I think it's just easier. But we'll jump into some Photoshop files and show you how to do it there too, because it's the same. It's the same quality of sticker, whether it was made in vector or Illustrator, or if it was made in Photoshop. So this was made in Photoshop, this was made in Illustrator, just to give you an idea. And there's really no quality loss at all. As long as your file that you're uploading is 300 DPI or at least 300 DPI, you're gonna have, you know, a pretty sweet looking sticker. So last thing I'll show you in Illustrator is a very simple one to do. This is a different type of sticker. So this is going to be a vinyl decal. So vinyl decal sticker, something like this guy. So some people might notice these on cars. So if you were to peel it, you see it's got a clear backing to it. But really what this is if I was to take this completely off, it's actually a cutout. So this isn't a see-through sticker like you would normally see with a clear backing. This is just vinyl. So they actually cut this perfectly to your design. And this is how that file was. This file that I prepped is as simple as this. And I just submit this file. They know because I'm selecting the type of material. The type of material for this is just a vinyl decal. So everything that is black, and like you'll see with my color, we could switch that to solid black there. And then the printer's going to know that this is exactly how to cut out the sticker. There's really nothing to these. These are relatively simple, but the only trick about this is making sure you have a thick enough line, because it's a machine that's cutting it rather than printing it on. Just depends on your artwork. Okay, so we're going to switch gears a little bit and we're going to go into Photoshop, and I'm going to show you some of the other processes. And this is the famous burger stack right here. This is the actual file that I would send to a printer. So if we zoom in, we're going to see all my layers that I used to create this. Everything's there. Nothing's flattened. But what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to flatten them. Because for Photoshop, you don't want to send a completely layered file with how that piece was made. It's not important for the printer to see all of that. They don't need that. They just need a flattened design with a cut line and then some sort of dictation on what the material is going to be.
Tyler, for the decal, would you need that magenta line as well then?
You wouldn't.
Okay.
So if I was to jump back to this, I would send this just as is. We'd just label it artwork. Because the printer's going to know what this file is and what gets printed. I will say that, let's say if we had, you know, if these eyes are red or something, that wouldn't fly. You need to really indicate what color's being used, because this is a black vinyl that I used to print these. Because it's really hard to explain without showing you. I want to peel this off and just show you exactly the type of sticker this is, because some people get confused on what is a decal and what's a clear sticker. So you see how that's peeling off? That's the black vinyl. So it's actually cut out. It's not just a clear back. So whenever the printer sees this, they're going to see this as lines to cut. So their machine's going to go along this outside line and cut this out, and then go on the inside and cut that piece out until we have almost like a stencil. That's a good way of comparing it. But no, just submit it like that. That should be all you need. But if it gets way too complex, I mean, there is limitations. I think a printer will know in 2 seconds of looking at your design whether or not it's feasible. And you know, if it's a really good printer who's helpful, they'll say, well, maybe we should try this other material if you want something similar to that ultimate look. Because maybe it's not a decal you need. Maybe it's just a clear back sticker, which is the majority of my stickers are like that. Like we're referring to these. So let's just jump back into this burger real quick. So like I said, here's all the layers that created this. I'm going to duplicate. All right, so this piece is actually in vector. It depends on how you create your artwork. So if you know my artwork and if you watched me create this illustration in the past, I created part of this in vector Illustrator and then I finished it in Photoshop. So I have a vector object in this Photoshop file. So I duplicated that so that we can get this outline, and I'll show you how I'm going to use that. So I need to flatten everything though. So let's go ahead and select every layer, merge layer. Okay, so now everything's merged. It's a single graphic. And then you saw me originally duplicate that vector object. I did that because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a stroke on this, but I'm only using this stroke as a reference to create my padding, because I'm going to have to create this line. I think right there should be good. Okay, so that now has a stroke around it, and I need to create my cut line. So I'm going to create a new layer, go to my pen tool, and with my pen tool selected, I'm just going to trace this line. And let's make sure we have a stroke. And then we can also, let's go ahead and make it 100% magenta.
Tyler, while you're doing that, Julie's wondering, how do you come up with ideas for stickers?
I'm usually creating a bunch of illustrations. I typically don't set out knowing that I'm going to create a sticker. I just set out creating something, and then it's typically when I finish the illustration, I'm like, oh, that's probably going to be a good sticker, or maybe a poster. Since most of my artwork is created in Photoshop and vector, but I always print my stickers in Cmyk, so there's no like Pantones or anything to worry about. Because if we were making a screen printed poster or something like that, there's a lot more technical sides to that file compared to a sticker. Because you really need to choose your colors wisely if it's a poster. But stickers, again, these are all stickers created with printers that can print Cmyk, so you're not having to worry about Pantones. And I'm just outlining this this shape.
This might relate to what you're doing right now, but Oscar's wondering, how do you get sharp outlines when using Photoshop?
Sharp outlines. Well, if your file is at a high enough resolution, let's say if you set your file whenever you begin illustrating or creating, make sure your file is set to 300 dpi. That's going to be the sharpest for printing. You shouldn't need anything higher than that. It depends on what you're doing again, but typically 300 dpi and then whatever file size you want should give you a really crisp design. And this line that I'm creating is going to be my cut line. So I'm just going to outline this pink shape here, because I want a consistent margin around my entire piece. Doesn't have to follow it exactly, but just try to keep it close to it, because you want a good clean looking cut around your sticker or artwork. Gives it a more professional look. And I'm using the pen tool, and I'm on a different layer, so make sure you notice that I'm on a different layer. Okay, so that's completely outlined this shape. And I'm going to delete that shape. So now we're left with this cut line. And then turn this back on. And there's my artwork. Okay, so this is exactly what I would send to the printer. And this is going to be a clear back sticker. So to answer, how do you define whether or not there's a white background or a clear backing? Well, if I wanted this to be a sticker with a white border around it, I would then simply change that background, because there is no background on this. Change this to whatever you want. If you want it to be white, so the printer would see this and they would say, oh, okay, there's only one layer. That would be, I would merge these and then label that artwork. That's only if I wanted to have a white background margin. So whenever this prints, it would be a sticker with a white border around it. But if you wanted, let's say, a clear back sticker, we would just undo what we just did, delete that, and you would leave it just like this and label it artwork. So we only have 2 layers in this file, and that's all the printer needs. So once you've done this, you need to also make sure that your file is in Cmyk. As you could see up top, this is RGB, because this file was originally made in RGB. So let's just go ahead and change that. Image mode, don't merge, okay. And then that just changed our file to Cmyk. Sometimes that adjusts the colors a little bit, but it looks like this one didn't change too much. And it should have left us with the assets we need. So this is good to go. We would send this to print. We would just tell them we want a clear back sticker made. And then typically a week or 2 weeks, you would then get these, which this is a clear back sticker. And the more stickers you purchase in an order, the cheaper they get. So you could tell that's clear and not white. So typically stickers run from 50 stickers for, I don't know, maybe $40 or so, and then it just goes up. But let's say if you get an order of 500 stickers, the price is going to be drastically cheaper than a lower quantity. And just walking through some of these other designs, it's the same thing. So creating the sticker is the simple part. Illustrating it is where you're going to spend all your time. So these are pieces of artwork that I've done in the past that I've already completed. So by having them already done, I would then just prep it the same. So I've flattened my entire design to where I had just this piece. And then I would then create a cut line, just like what I did before. You see that magenta line cutting through. And this is just indicating where that margin is going to be. And this is a piece that we've created these. So you see how right here, how it sort of goes around that little drop. Well, look at my file. I'm having to indicate that in my cut line. And that's on a different layer. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Tyler, when you switched from RGB to Cmyk and you said you saw a little bit of a shift, have there ever been any instances where you see a big change? And is there anything that you do to fix that before sending it off to the printer?
Yeah, there's some pieces. Let's see. So this one's still in RGB. Let's see what happens. Some of these will just drastically change. Don't merge. Okay, so what typically happens whenever you do switch over, your artwork becomes much darker. That's generally what happens. But you can sort of counterbalance that by maybe adding a curves above your artwork and then play with your color settings. Yeah, so you see how I'm sort of tweaking the colors.
Yep, you can especially see that in the white.
Really see it once you start dealing in the the overall curve. We can lighten it or darken it. Just, you know, a friendly reminder, your artwork's always going to print darker than what you see on screen. That's just, you know, a printing 101. So whenever you're adjusting the colors, just note that you want to try to lean on the lighter side of the spectrum, because it's always going to be darker. So to counterbalance it, I would typically do that. You see that we have now a curve layer. I want to select the curve layer and then select my artwork again, because I want to merge that. I never want to have more layers than I need. So then I merge that color adjustment with the artwork, and then slightly lighter than what it was before.
So with Photoshop, do you submit a PSD file to the printer, or do you send a .svg?
I send a PSD file, just like this. I would send this one because I like to keep my layers in here, such as my cut line and my artwork. Most of the files that I'm sending them, they're much larger than what I'm printing them at. I like to make sure that when I'm sending the file to the printer, that they have you know, a high enough resolution to really work with it the way they need to. It does help to size the file down to the exact size that you're going to print it at. Let's say if, you know, this is, I think this is like 3x3 circle. You know, maybe my artwork is 3x3, or maybe it's 5x5. But either way, the printer is going to know whenever I'm submitting it and I'm saying, hey, this is a 3x3 sticker. They're going to make sure they're sizing it correctly. But for this Photoshop file, I like to have the resolution as high as possible for what I'm doing, because I don't want any image loss or resolution loss because of that. So this is a 15 by 15 inches. This is a pretty big one. 300 resolution file. And then, you know, I only had this, let me measure this real quick. I think this is 4x3 sticker made for it. And that's only because I'm working off my original art file, because this original art file, it's the same size as this one. Just make sure you have a high res image.
And then on the topic of files or file types, what format do you save it in, PNG, JPEG, or TIFF, when you're transferring from Adobe Illustrator to Photoshop?
If I'm going to illustrate the file, I'm just copy and pasting. I would just create, let's say if I was to do a new file like this just gets back into more of how to illustrate. Let's say this guy. I select it, copy it, Command C, and then just Command V, and you're gonna get this. And I usually keep it a smart object. I scale it to how large I want, typically based on how much margin around the artwork I want. And then I would then work on this. And again, this is how I illustrate. This isn't how I would, you know, format. So I would put my textures. I'm just doing this real rough. Put my textures on there, and, you know, whatever sort of distressed look that I want, I would then add to this, you know, creating a layered file. And then whenever I'm finished with that layered file, just like what I did with the cheeseburger sticker, I'm then gonna try to merge these layers. And then that's when I'm gonna start prepping this for a sticker, which gets me somewhere like this. So that's how I created this. You see this MF Doom sticker here. It's got all the texture on it, which is different from the one we saw earlier, because I finished this design in Photoshop. So therefore I had to create a cut line in Photoshop. And there's my original artwork. It's a single layer.
We have a question from Isabel from Germany. They're wondering, what is the best way to market stickers, or would you recommend them only as goodies as an addition to print shops?
Well, they're definitely an asset. I wouldn't if you're referring to giving out free stickers to promote other stuff, stickers are great assets. I think it's, if you're someone who creates artwork or higher end products such as sweatshirts or posters, a lot of time you're pricing out a lot of people who may not want to spend $40 on a poster, but they're happily would pay $2 for a sticker. So always see this as something to market and sell. So what I do, I create these sticker packs. So on my store, the Creative Pane, I have these custom sticker packs, and in each custom sticker pack you get an assortment of stickers, and then the back carding that it's a different design is a piece of artwork. So something like this you would sell for $10, $12, but you have about 6-7 stickers in there, which is a pretty good deal. So the more stickers you accumulate, maybe you bundle them, which is something like this. And then it's just a whole exercise in branding and marketing, because then you're creating this backboard, then you're creating little design elements like this, which is printed on a piece of chipboard, and then you saran wrap it and you could ship these in the mail. So stickers are definitely an asset that could be marginalized in bundles, or maybe one-offs. I would normally give these away, and you might see these for sale.
Awesome. And then we're also streaming over to Facebook, and we have a question from there. Do you ever rasterize the cut line layer, or do you keep it editable?
The cut line layer is typically just a shape. I don't really mess with that. I just do the outline, name it, and make sure it's 100% magenta. And that should be it. Again, it's pretty simple. Whenever you're submitting this to the printer, just indicate, I have a cut line in there. It's on its own layer. And a printer looking at this, they're going to know that it's on a separate layer from your artwork, because you're going to indicate that. My layers are labeled artwork, cut line. It's really straightforward. And, all of these pieces are done the same way.
David's wondering, I've seen different artists post their artwork and stickers and designs, and I've seen companies steal their work and mass produce them into stickers. What can we do to combat this? Because watermarks are easy to Photoshop out.
It's such a dilemma. I've had a lot of people I've seen get ripped off. I've had my work being used in places it's a catch-22. It's either you put your work out there and hopefully the right people see it, but there's always the chance of the wrong people seeing it who are going to take your work and try to make stickers out of it. There's really nothing I know to solve that, besides when you see it, report them, try to, if you have to get legal with it, by all means, it's your work, it's your copyright. But if you want your work to get out there and you want to try to get exposure, you have to put your work out there. That's just what comes with it, which, yeah, people do take your work sometimes. I don't know. I struggle with it too. So it's something that we're all sort of dealing with.
Ernesto's wondering, are there any shapes or sharp edges you try to avoid?
With the stickers, yeah, there is sometimes. Let's see. I'm just sort of like going back and forth with these files just to give you guys reference and compare the two. If there's ever a sharp line that, maybe this would be a good one. Let's say if we were doing a cut line for this guy, I would try to avoid anything that's too tight of an area. Let's say like this. Let's say if I was going along the edge, let's go ahead and get this the way we want. Just like that. Okay. So areas I would try to avoid. I would try to avoid any sort of sharp turn like that. Something like this is just, it's going to really be a tricky sticker. Because whenever the printer's cutting this out, there's machines like die cuts that are cutting all these stickers out at a high rate. So if there's a lot of hard edges that cut in between your design, a lot of times that machine's going to not cut all the way through because it's just such a tight area. So try to keep it as simple as possible. And it does help to, like I said, sort of look at your design, understand that I'm not going to create a cut line that does this. It's not going to follow all the way through each shape. Sometimes you have to simplify it. Like, let's say if I had this. Yeah, so this is an example right here. I wouldn't let that fly. That just, it wouldn't make any sense for that cut to go outside like that. So instead of doing a cut line like that, what if you did a cut line similar to what we have here, where we're further away from the design, we're able to really encompass all those little shapes. Again, I'm just doing this pretty rough and quick for the sake of our time. So I would do something like that. And just so you could see it.
I see. So would you say the rounder edges are a little bit more safe than having like that harsh, sharp edge?
100%. So something like this first line we did, it's going to get messed up. I mean, you might as well just guarantee that's going to get messed up in print because it's getting too detailed. It's getting too, intricate to have that machine press through all your designs and cut them up because they're going to be die cut to the shape that you designate. But if you do away with the more detailed one and you make it a little more subtle, maybe more round as you keep going through it, you will then end up with something like what we originally had. I'll back up to it because the original die line was a little smooth. Where is it at? I'm just Command Zing to the beginning. Yeah, this was my original cut line. So even this one's pushing it a little bit. I think if I was to do it again, I would probably simplify it a little more. But you sort of get where I'm going. I'm not going inside the mouth of this design. I'm not getting every little tooth outlined. I'm sort of simplifying it, creating curves where I don't need hard edges, and just working through the artwork like that.
Gotcha. We have an interesting question from Grace. They're wondering how waterproof are the stickers? And I wonder if that has anything to do with the paper type that you choose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really gets back to who you have print your stickers. So who I personally enjoy is Sticker App. So Sticker App is a company that has a lot of different types of stickers. You could actually buy these little sticker packs that they come from their actual store, where each sticker in this sticker pack shows you an example of the product that they can make. So it's a reference pack. So that's a reflective sticker, that's a brushed alloyed sticker, and goes on and on. So all these stickers in the sticker pack gives you an example of what they can do. So some of these sticker companies have these because these are great for them to have people use and understand their product. Some of the stickers that I personally create and use a lot of is just the clear backing. These are pretty simple and cheap, but they have a pretty good quality to them. So it's a clear backing. Waterproof, I mean, it's just like any sticker. If water is on the outside, it's not going to affect the sticker, but I mean, if water gets underneath where the glue is, then yeah, it's probably going to have a hard time to stick. But the outside's pretty nice. It's almost laminated. So these are really good. Another good sticker company that I've used is Sticker Mule. Again, I would almost suggest if you're new to the sticker game, try some of these stickers out. Go to these sites and maybe get one of their tester packs like what I was just referring to with Sticker App, or maybe just upload a design and get them shipped towards you, because this is Sticker Mule. The difference with them, at least for this design that I did, this is a clear backing. Hang on, let me get it off. Yeah, so this is a clear backing, but it's a lot thicker. So the quality of these are way thicker than this other one that I had made, but I paid more for these. So it's just determining on how much you want to spend. That's Sticker Mule, Sticker App. And then there's another company that's called Sticker Robot. Sticker Robot's a little different because all of these other places are printing in Cmyk for the most part. Sticker Robot uses Pantones, and that's just a different process in general. It's more so like screen printing. So this is screen printed on. This is a single color onto a piece of clear vinyl. Yeah, here we go. So you could see that's clear vinyl, single color. So it depends on who you want to go to. Quality variance, it's different everywhere you go. It's just find out what works for what you're doing and just kind of build a relationship with that company. That's kind of what I've done. Like I said, I really like Sticker App. I go to them quite a bit. And the quality and just the variance. Again, these metallic stickers, that's Sticker App. So they just do a lot of cool materials that are fun to play with. Things like this. That's a brush alloyed, so it's more metallic.
That one's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love the holographic metallic ones.
Yeah, it's just a different. I don't know. It changes your design, which is fun to think about, because you could spend hours on your artwork and putting all these details in there, and then realize that you printed it on the wrong material. So sometimes the material makes the design.
Tyler, do the companies give you the plastic bags to ship them out in, or is that something that you purchase on the side?
That's something I purchase on the side. So if we were referencing my sticker packs, like these little saran wrap bags, yeah. So this is an unsealed one. You could buy these from, I don't know, Uline. Uline's a good company that I go to for a lot of shipping materials. I'm sure there's a lot of other places that also sell them. And then I'm just manually packing my sticker packs. And then something like this little card backing. I mean, you could make this at home, very easily. Just print it out on cardstock and just make sure it's the same size as your sleeve. But I made mine at Moo, MOO.com. So these are actually postcards, but I just use them for something different.
Nice. Awesome. Well, we are at the top of the hour, but we do have lots of questions left. Do you want to answer a few more?
Yeah, let's go through them.
Okay, perfect. So Stephanie's wondering, how do you make stickers that might have cutouts within the artwork?
Cutouts within the artwork. It would be the same as what we're showing with this cut line. That might be a little personal note to whoever's printing it. Hey, I have multiple cut lines. Could you make sure that you catch these whenever you're looking at the file? It's as simple as a communication. Whenever I'm reaching out to these people, it's not too scary if I'm doing something that I'm not quite sure about, because they have to send a proof back to me and I approve the proof. So whenever they say, all right, if this looks good, we'll print it, I have the final say so. So if they come back and they're like, well, what do you think about this? If I say, well, let's make some edits to it, that's when I have the chance to speak up and make sure that I have that change. But yeah, if there was a cut line in there that was, I don't have an example to show that, but I guess this one could be. So you see how we have this cut line that went around. Let's say if we wanted pieces of the inside of this cut out, like in between the chain, it's handle it the same way. Let's see. So let's say this little area we wanted to have cut out. Again, I'm just doing this really quick to answer the question, but it's possible. It just depends on your design, because I wouldn't recommend this with everything, because sometimes it's just going to overcomplicate your design and how it's being cut out. Yeah, so just like that. And then making sure that your cut line's always on one layer. So I just merged it. Oops. Where'd it go? Let's see. Go here. Yeah, here we go. Merge layers. There we go. So then that's our cut line. So whenever the printer opens this file, they'll see that, there's a cut line within a cut line. They'll know the difference.
Got it. We have a couple people asking, can stickers be done in Procreate or Affinity? Do you have experience with either of those programs?
I don't. I think it just depends on the printer that you use, because the printer typically has a page that says ways to submit your file. Again, all the references that I've said, like Sticker App, Sticker Mule, Sticker Robot, go to these websites and you'll see down in the footer of the website somewhere that says how to prep stickers, and the file formats that they accept. It depends on who's printing it. I haven't worked within those. It depends on if they accept that file format or not. Typically, Vector and Illustrator programs like Adobe are always accepted. Photoshop files, PSDs. A lot of times PDFs are acceptable. Some JPEGs too. It just depends on the type of sticker you want. If you have a JPEG, it sometimes gets tricky to have a clear sticker because it's going to flatten that image. So it's good to have a layered file if you plan on making some sort of clear sticker. Just a reminder. And there's also these. Oh, these are cool too.
Person's asking, does the price of printing vary on colors? For example, is monochrome different than a colorful sticker?
Not typically, because they're being printed in Cmyk. So, if you understand the way print formats work, Cmyk means that it's just like a home printer. There's cyan, magenta, and black. And if you look closer to the design, you could sort of see the little DPI dots, which it doesn't matter what color it is. It's all coming from the same type of ink process.
Someone's wondering, do you ship the sticker packs by yourself?
Yeah, I usually handle all of that on my own. Just keep it small. I don't plan on, creating stickers as like a full-time thing. I sort of do it for fun, and I really enjoy the process, such as, if you create an artwork that you spend hours and hours on illustrating, it's always fun to see it created in other formats, such as mediums like that, or, maybe it's a t-shirt. So, why not create this, invest maybe $30 into some stickers, and then you have something to give your friends, or you could stick this on a stop sign, or, get your artwork out there. And it's limitless. I mean, you can create as many of these as you want. So it's pretty fun.
Kelvin's asking, if we want a different colored background, do we just change the white to the desired color? I think this is going back to your borders.
Yep, that's exactly right. If you wanted to have, let's say, a red background for this sticker, just make that color that desired color. And then making sure that you still have your cut line. As long as it's on a different layer, even though we could barely see our cut line, it's still on a different layer. So that's all that matters. Yeah.
Dennis says, how do you price your stickers, as single or do you offer set packs? And then he
Uh,
said creative sauce is great.
yeah, we could always use some creative sauce. Um, it depends. Typically, I try to think of it as if I was to buy a sticker, what seems like a reasonable deal. If it's a relatively small sticker, let me see if there's. This is a cool one. So I created these little El Caminos a while back, and these are really small. These are probably like 3 inches by inch and a half tall. I typically wouldn't sell these by themselves because it's, you're gonna probably price this out to be $1, $2, and it's gonna be hard to make your money back if you're individually selling these. So I would bundle small stickers in sort of a pack, like how we did here. So there's some small stickers in this. Larger stickers, yeah, I'll sell them individually. Something like a decal. Decals are great to sell individually. That's like what this this black one is. That's a decal. So those are pretty reasonable to sell for, $2, $3. Just depends on your price margin. There's a small sticker like this little guy. I would probably never sell that little guy by itself because he's just so small, and it's like to ship that. I mean, that's the size of the stamp I would use to ship it. So that probably wouldn't seem like a good deal if you were buying it. But if you bundle, let's say, 2 big stickers together like this, sell that for, $6, $7. Again, that's just depending on your own margins.
David's asking, what other platforms can we use to sell our stickers on? I currently use Etsy. Is there any other websites like that?
Yeah, Etsy's good. There's, you can create your own website, which is an easy way to do it. Big Cartel is another. It's not. It's sort of like Etsy, but it's just a way to get a private e-commerce shop. And once you have your own store, then it's just about marketing. It's just finding different ways to market your assets. I mean, social media is great for that. I think, my Instagram is primarily trying to promote my stickers, and it's just good content if nothing else. So think about it like that. Just create really good content, and if you're able to make some sales from that, then it's a win-win because you have a really good portfolio, so to speak, once you do it that way.
Nice. Jennifer is asking, would you suggest getting vector decals printed at the same place as normal stickers, or are there other places that might specialize in decals versus stickers?
I think you could find more local shops for decals. Just from, I think, from my experience. I mean, I'll say this: this one was made at Sticker Mule, so it's just whatever preference you have. Sticker Mule's be able to do this. That's online base, but I know a lot of little mom and pop shops that can do this type of stuff a lot better than they can do like a high gloss or brush alloy finish. So it just depends on who you're dealing with. I mean, doing it online is probably the easiest.
We have a couple questions about printing at home. I know you mentioned you do have a printer. Some people are wondering about that process. If you could go into it a little bit more or share anything.
Yeah, well, I don't print my actual stickers. Like none of these are printed at home. I just print my my test example, so to speak. I'll print something out just to get my sizing right, because sometimes it helps to print something out at the size you plan on having made. So let's say if I had this illustration here printed out at home at 3 inches by 2, I need to really cut that out and see if it's going to be a good size for a sticker. It just helps to have a printer for that. That's just a regular printer. I'm not planning on manufacturing stickers from that. I'm just trying to help figure out the best size, because like we were saying, what if we create something that it's just too small. It doesn't really translate that well at the scale that you decide. So just do some trial and error and print it out at home and then base your design off that.
Perfect. I will end on this question. They're asking if you teach any classes online.
I don't currently have any classes, but I do have a YouTube channel at The Creative Pain, and I've done a few workshops with Adobe too. So a lot of these illustrations, you can see sort of behind the scenes on those feeds.
Very nice. All right, Tyler, it is time to announce our lucky sticker winner. Drum roll, please.
Oh, who do we got?
Our winner is Jason Doss. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right. We will reach out to you and get your shipping info, and we'll send that over to Tyler, and he'll be sending you your mystery sticker pack. So congratulations.
Mystery sticker pack.
Yay.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you'll be able to get this, look through this and reference some of the files that we worked on, because I think at least 4 of these stickers were the working files we had open. So that'll be fun. Awesome.
Awesome. Tyler, is there anything you want to mention before we wrap up?
I'd just like to thank Wacom again, and you guys, if you want to check out some of my process, or if you have any questions, please reach out at typo11. That's on Instagram, and stay up to date on the Creative Pain and all these little illustrations. Which, again, check out the shop. We have all these up. So stickers.
Yes, definitely check out his shop if any of these stickers caught your eye. And I also want to mention that Tyler does have a code right now. It's PATE, P-A-T-E. And if you use that on the Wacom eStore, you can save 10% on the Cintiq 16 or 22.
Awesome.
So head on over there to grab one of those with that code. And thank you so much, Tyler. This was awesome. You've answered a ton of great questions. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to everybody else who joined.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon, everybody.
See ya.